our next speaker, Madam Rajlakshmi Joshi, the founder trustee of Rudolph Foundation, an eminent environmental architect, a level-headed political analyst, widely acclaimed writer and co-editor. She will now lead us as a speaking tree into the path of her speech. Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah, a very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening to everybody, all of you around the globe, all you lovely ladies, and everybody who's watching us. And I would like to start with one line that is the most suitable, the most ideal one for today. That is, Yatra Naryastu Pujyante, Ramante Tatra Devataha. I think that this uh, mantra, this should be a mantra that should be followed by everybody. And this, for those of you who do not understand Sanskrit, it means that where the women, where the ladies are respected, that is where the gods roam. So this doesn't mean that you should kind of hero worship women all over. It just means that I would look at it as where the women are respected, where they're given a rightful place in society. I think that is where the gods roam. That is where it is truly like a heaven for everybody. Because all over the world, what you need is balance, and it is something that when men and women live together, coexist, and are able to complement each other, I think that is the most ideal society. And it is actually, for me, it is a tall order to be speaking, after such eminent personalities. Like I was able to hear uh, Union Minister Srimati Maneka Gandhi ji speak, and followed by some really eminent speakers like Dr. Sunaina Singh, and this is Neera, and Ms. Preeti, and Urushi ji, just right before me. She has quoted such lovely lines. And I am indeed thankful to Siddhartha ji for having introduced me here, and also to all of you at Trans Brahma and at Women Empowerment, and to Preeti and to Jiva, and all of you lovely ladies and this lovely team at this lovely event, that I'm able to express my opinions, my thoughts, and my words. And I'm really thankful that you have brought together so many, insightful thoughts, so many insightful topics that need to be covered on such an important day. Uh, this International Women's Day, it is like some of my eminent co-panelists were here saying that I don't think that we actually should be requiring a special day for uh, celebrating womanhood. But then at the same time, maybe this is the right platform to be able to express some concerns, and to be able to throw some light, and to create some awareness about some of the issues that women face all over the world. And like Srimati Maneka Gandhi ji was saying in the morning, she was speaking about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, which is this lovely initiative. And I'm honored to be a part of it, actually. So I'm the regional head for the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. And that was the reason why I actually ventured into politics, or you could say that I actually came into this field. So this what she said was such a strong point, that women, not just in India but all over the world, actually have been fighting so many battles. We have been fighting battles, right from the freedom to be born, and after that the freedom to have an equal life along with our siblings, and I mean, say, brothers, and be educated, the right to choose our own life partners, the right to have ownership over our properties. And then somewhere later along the line comes the right to become leaders, whether it may be in the workplace, whether it may be in the corporate area, or in the political field. So women have not had it easy anywhere around the globe. But then I always feel that what is it that sets apart all these wonderful women who have made a mark for themselves along history? There have been so many women who have stood out, who have encountered, who have overcome all these odds that I was just speaking about. Like it has not been easy for, especially in India, we still have women fighting for this freedom to be born right from the time when they are in their mother's wombs. So this fight starts right from the earlier generation, from when their mother is in her young age. So from that time is the time that actually women are fighting their battle. So this there are some wonderful initiatives that have helped overcome all of this. But then just being born, that is not enough. You just surviving is not our goal. We have to be able to thrive. We have to be able to make a mark for ourselves. Everybody, I think, is capable of doing something, uh, something remarkable in their own lives, and it's just a matter of finding out what that is. But unfortunately, uh, throughout history, we have seen that a lot of these accomplishments of women have probably not been recognized, have not been given the rightful place in history. And like Urvashi ji was saying here some time back, she was talking about how maybe some lines or some things on history are written by in the eyes of or by the hands of the men. So then obviously, if as long as women don't take their rightful place in society as equal lawmakers, as equal leaders in society, I think that the laws and the rules will always be laid down by men, and who will have their own perspective and their own take on things, and they will not be able to see the women's perspective. So that is why we definitely need to have women in all fields, because right now we have realized that women are not expected just to be confined to the char diwari of their homes, and just be content with setting up homes. And that is also a very important and a very crucial part of families. But then at the same time, just as men and women, they are supposed to be like maybe the two pillars of a family. So uh, the first problem that starts for any woman in any field, in any department, is it starts from their own homes, from their own parents, from their own families. So that is where a woman has to break the barriers, she has to break those boxes, she has to get out of those boxes right from there. I was speaking on a topic of women in science a few days ago, and I realized, or I was speaking about how in this entire history of the Nobel Prize, which is supposed to be the highest recognition for women for contribution to science, women have been awarded the Nobel Prize for contribution in science only 20 times out of close to 700 awards that have been given. So doesn't that mean that this is a miserable number for the amount of contribution that women scientists have been given on all these years? So it is only because men have been taking over the credit. That is because they have been sidelined, and also because they have not been able to focus on it, on the research, as men are able to. Because then they take it as their own right. If I want to, for men, it is like, I want to research on a particular subject, and I am going to do it come what may, and I'm not going to bother about whether my family is upset about it or whoever else is upset about it. But women are not able to do that. Women have a lot of constraints, and the same thing applies in politics as well. If you look at the political scenario, like Miss Preeti Upala was rightly pointing out, we have a lot of so-called developed countries who have given voting rights to women as late as 1971, where we had a woman prime minister who not only comes across as an iron lady, but she has helped in the formation of a country in itself, the country of Bangladesh. Our Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, she played a very major role in it. So I think that speaks a lot about how India, India has been at the forefront in a lot of ways. In actually, our women have actually been strong throughout the centuries, but it's just a matter of women realizing their true power, realizing that they are capable of a lot more, and realizing that they are able to not just be an equal partner, but they're also able to lead, not just say maybe their own families, but they're able to lead an entire country, to not just secure themselves, but to also help another country in their formation. So the problem in India, what I have seen, is not that it's not with our culture. It is that we have moved away from our culture. We have forgotten, that in our culture, women are expected to be a form of Shakti, power herself. So this is something that we need to be reminded of. So when it comes to politics, politics is all about power play. Politics is about dealing with people. It's about making strategies. It's about having knowing about foreign relations. It's about uh, knowing what is good for the welfare of your citizens. And isn't this something that all women have been doing all along, every time, with our own families, with our own relatives, with our own with everybody around us? So if we can apply the same thing in a much broader context, I think that women can make great politicians. But in spite of that, the sad fact is that in even in so-called developed countries, I'm saying so-called because we still have that mindset that holds women back, and somehow gives men the kind of false sense of authority that they can hold women back. And that is because women give them the power to hold them back. And I don't think that women empowerment is something that somebody else can give for us. I think that women have to realize that empowerment has to come from within us itself. So in a country like the United States of America, which a lot of us think as the most developed, maybe, so in that country, we still have to see a woman president, a woman right at the top. So I think that speaks a lot about how uh, development in terms of technology doesn't actually relate or equate with development in terms of mentality. So I always feel that the mindset is what matters most in whatever in the world you are doing. Whether as a I am actually qualified to be an architect. So whether as an architect, or whether as maybe say a filmmaker, or whether maybe say as a politician, or in as a scientist, anywhere you go, if you want to be a leader, if you want to make a mark for yourself, what you need most is to have a strong mindset. And like some speakers before me were saying, there are a lot of things that actually come in the way of women going ahead to achieve what they want to do. Very firstly, it starts with like I was talking about the family, the kind of those barriers, the finances, and who will look after the children. And also another factor that comes into play is the fact that men don't like looking up to a woman as their leader. So that is one more aspect that has to be changed. And women themselves feel somehow they have a kind of a complex, or they have some kind of an inferiority complex that tells them that the men are superior. And that is why they always keep looking up to some kind of rules or some kind of laws, that they look for some kind of accreditation from these the men who have written the rules. So unless women themselves become lawmakers, unless they themselves come into a position of power, I don't think that they could actually change this thing in society. So this mentality, this mindset has to very firstly come from the woman herself, saying that I can do it. And she has to overcome a lot of flack also from society. If you may have seen, there have been a lot of instances of say some male politicians slandering some women politicians and calling them item girls, or saying that she's a dancer, or that all kinds of some very lewd statements that actually embarrass and hurt the dignity of a woman. So this is something that women tend to stay away from, because that embarrasses them, and that is why they feel that a position of a public life is going to be very difficult, because they're always in the limelight, they're always being watched, they're always being, every step of theirs is being looked upon as everybody's waiting for them to make a mistake. So even if all of that is true, a woman has to overcome all of that, and that is when she can actually become a successful leader. And uh, I would say that the men also have to realize that for a balanced society, we definitely need men and women in equal numbers in whatever field it may be. So this mindset of a man that makes him think that he can suppress a woman by maybe harming her dignity, by maybe embarrassing her, or by saying that you cannot do this, I don't permit you to do so, or that I forbid you from doing this. So all of uh, this wrongful or this misplaced entitlement that men take upon themselves, I think that mindset needs to change. And this mindset is what holds back women in, especially in politics. And if you have seen now, women have actually had to fight even for voting rights in many countries, like we are aware. And even in India, even though we have had voting rights right from the time of not independence from 1950, I would say, because that is when we actually started voting. So right from 1950, Indian women have had equal rights of voting along with the men. But then in the very initial stages, women did not even go out to vote too much. But thankfully now, the difference in the voting percentage is not too much between the men and the women. But then at the same time, we also have a lot of instances where even male chief ministers have appealed to women voters that please do consult your husbands and ask them whom you should be voting for and make the right decision. So, I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. And to even think that women don't even understand whom they should be voting for. So, this is the kind of a mentality, a kind of a mindset that not just our normal, ordinary citizens have, but even people in power have this mindset that women don't understand politics. So, this, I think, it is more of the responsibility of a woman to prove herself, to show that yes, I am capable of myself. That the minute she starts thinking that I am able to do it, I can do it, that is when she will start taking steps. She will start taking some actions to move ahead in that direction. It without a person thinking that they can do it, or even without even imagining that I can be a politician, you cannot do that. So you have to
Ma'am,
first take that the thought that I need to make a change in the world. And I would say, I would like to add here, I would like to narrate a small story, a little story.
ma'am,
Is it okay?
Yeah, wow, actually, ma'am, actually, we're lagging, running behind a little bit. Will it be okay if we not if we could end it right here? If you could wrap it up a little bit, ma'am.
Okay, okay, all right. So I'll just finish my story in 2 minutes, if you don't mind.
All right,
So yeah,
all right,
so
ma'am.
yeah, there is this small little story of now everybody is aware of the Ram Setu. So when the Ram Setu was being built, everybody knows how everybody, the entire Sena of Ramji, was so enthusiastic and so thrilled to be a part of this great task, because that is what was going to help them move from the country of the land of India and take them across to Sri Lanka, where their Sita Mata was there. So they were looking at it as an ability, as an opportunity to help their Prabhu Ram go across and rescue Sita Mata. And in this entire endeavor, when there were great warriors, all making, carrying huge boulders and doing everything possible to be able to build that bridge, there were some small squirrels also. Everybody knows about the story. Yes, there were some squirrels, and these squirrels, they were just taking small tiny steps and carrying whatever little uh, uh, quantity of maybe soil or small pebbles, etc., that they were able to do, they were able to carry. And when some varners, they they tried to push them out of the way by saying, hey, you're just uh, delaying us, don't come in our way, we are doing such important work. So Prabhu Ramji, when he was watching all of this, he said, are you aware that the huge boulders that you are placing for the uh, Ram Setu, do you know what actually holds them together? That is that those small tiny particles of sand, those small tiny pebbles that these small little squirrels are carrying with them. So every action, every person, every uh, task that a person is able to do or is able to contribute always has a lot of importance in the entire play of the universe. So every woman out there who thinks that I cannot make a change to society, so I definitely cannot make a good politician, so there is no role for me in politics, I think that every little contribution that a woman can make towards society, towards their country, I think that can go a long way into making a huge revolution, into making a lot of change, because it is when everybody comes together with small little tasks, with small little uh, contributions, that is when we are able to make a big change in society. If everybody starts thinking that I will not be able to make a change in society, then we will never be able to make a change. So I appeal to all women to take a little more interest in politics, to be aware of what's happening, to understand what's happening, and understand that it is necessary for women to come out into politics, especially people who are educated, so that we can make a better place for ourselves, and that we can become lawmakers and write the rules for ourselves and for the entire society. So with that, I thank all of you again for all those who have been speaking and all those who have shared their wonderful insights, and to all of you who are also encouraging us and supporting us by being part of this initiative. Thanks to all of you here at Women Empowerment. More power to all of you out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Vande Mataram.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your encouraging speech. It was highly insightful. And we know that now the mindset is what matters and nothing else at all. So we have taken enough strength from you. We will carry it forward to our young generation and say to them that they will be the lawmakers of the country and give good rule like the Ram Rajya, which was in ancient India long time ago. And that will become a reality in the near future. I thank you once again.